Hey review family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morris, the Review Guy, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one I'm going to be covering the new Children of Bodom album, entitled Hexed. Hexed is the 10th studio-length album by Children of Bodom. They were formed in 1993. They are a Finnish extreme metal band that has ranged from a lot of different genres, from melodic death metal to thrash metal to power metal to progressive metal, all to create this very epic, theatrical, and mythological type sounding blend of metal. Children of Bodom is a band that I have had a little bit of trouble enjoying in the past. Mostly it comes down to two things. Number one, these epic power metal bits that are very theatrical and very mythological that fill out their albums, in my personal opinion, can come off as a little bit one-dimensional and run-of-the-mill, considering the whole slew of power metal bands that have been doing the same thing for decades at this point. There's a fine line, in my opinion, that a lot of bands walk between being one-dimensional and being three-dimensional. And yeah, while you could say that about pretty much every genre that exists, power metal, in my opinion, has that in spades. And the second thing is vocalist Alexi Laho's vocals. Honestly, they can come off very cool, they can come off sounding very sinister and demented, but when you're getting these songs that reach into the 3, 4, 5 minutes, and when you're getting albums that reach up into the 40 and 50 minutes lengths, I just can't really get behind these vocals a lot of times. He can sometimes go into those lower, deeper type registers, but it's very rare. Most of the time, he sticks to fry screams. That is his specialty. Almost these black metal inspired fry screams, or if you want to compare it to something else, 90s and 2000s thrash metal, which makes a lot of sense considering where they came from and where their stylistic origins really are placed on the spectrum. After listening to this album and some of the ones that came before it in anticipation, I can easily say that this is one of my favorite Children of Bodom albums that I've heard that they've released in a while, definitely this decade, but at the same time, it still runs into a lot of the problems that I have. Alexi is still coming through with these fry screams, this staple fry scream, this throaty, rasped fry scream, which in my opinion got really old really fast. That's just me. The drums are pounding, they're prominent, but they're not doing anything in the mix that's blowing me away or sweeping me off my feet. They are driving these compositions, and it seems like they are just there doing what they need to do and nothing more. But that is not to say that there is nothing to praise about this album. The guitar work, specifically the rhythm guitar, sounds very epic. Sometimes it sounds futuristic. Like on the tracks Platitudes and Broken Words, on the self-titled track Hexed, they sound super futuristic. The guitars are locked in this battle where they are vying for control of who can sound more theatrical. Surprisingly, the bass is pretty audible and listenable on this album, and it comes together with the guitars to create a groove metal, thrash metal inspired sound across a lot of these tracks that remind me somewhat of the groove metal bands from the 80s and 90s, such as Pantera and Sepultura. For the most part, I didn't find myself on this album being like, I just want to turn this off, this is absolutely horrible. But at the same time, unfortunately, those issues that I mentioned earlier do come through on this album quite prominently. The bits when it's trying to go for this power metal instrumentation sitting shoulder to shoulder with the thrash metal instrumentation, it ends up sounding really phoned in and things that I have heard so many times in power metal that it's hard for me to get behind it and say that this is really catchy. And unfortunately, despite the fact that there are some bits of these compositions that do sound catchy, that do sound well orchestrated, especially those more futuristic bits, those groovy bits, and specifically the bits where they come through with keyboards in the instrumentation, when you're getting Alexi's vocals that I can't get behind either, it's hard for me to listen to a lot of these tracks more than a few times for this review because I'm like, the parts that I like to hear are really good, but it's kind of like the bad apples are ruining this for me. This road starts off the track listing really strong in my opinion. I do love the way this chuggy thrash metal riff continues, almost has a progressive metal type of vibe to it, and the breaking near the end where the composition opens and you get the solo sounds like something out of a Within the Ruins song. It is super tappy, super futuristic, and it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. I find myself enjoying a lot of the solos on this album, but the parts that come before it are just mind-numbingly boring in my opinion. Take Kickin' a Spleen for example. I love the last minute to death. It is absolutely harrowing, and the start is really foreboding and epic as well. But the middle section just sags and lacks with boring guitars that are doing nothing but this thrash metal, power metal, groove metal, cacophonous amalgamation that has been in so many albums that came before it, including albums from Children of Bodom that I cannot get behind, and it's trying too hard in my opinion. HECATE'S Nightmare, on the other hand, is my favorite track on the whole album. I love this dinging circus instrumental that comes over the whole track. It makes it sound really creepy, really eerie, and I think Alexi's vocals fit on this. I wish he had a little bit more diversity in his vocal register, because I know he's been in a lot of bands, some of which I haven't checked out, so he may, I'm sorry if I just insulted him without knowing it, but he sticks in this one vocal register for most of the album, and the issue with that is, considering how diverse some of these compositions can be, I wish that he wasn't in this one register. Hexed, albeit a little bit cliche, I do enjoy quite a bit. The orchestral bit near the end is good, although the end can lack a bit, and the middle section is a bit lacking. Do love the buzzsaw guitars on this track, and the driving, pummeling drums that litter themselves across the track. Alexi comes off a little bit more empowered on this track with his vocals, despite the fact he is still in that register. It seems a little bit more commanding, a little bit more intimidating and imposing. So yeah, this album is aggressive, it is full of tenacity, it's full of vigor, but I can't say that it's something that I would come back to a lot. I can respect the technical proficiency of the band, and maybe this is one of the things I can chalk up to not being for me, because I have not really enjoyed Children of Bodom in the past, but these are my thoughts of the album, and I want to know yours, of course. I'm going to be giving this album a 6 out of 10. And that's a wrap. Stick around for the end screen. I'm going to link some videos that you guys might enjoy. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. I'll talk to you guys next time. But until then, my name is Jay Morris, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.